Welcome back to another episode on the Metal Verbalizers podcast. This podcast is for you that want to discover new fantastic metal. We feel that there aren't enough podcasts that support the underground scene. That is why the whole purpose of this podcast is to find new and or smaller bands and tell you about them. In this episode, we are going to talk about a band that played that good old heavy metal with a lot of inspiration from fantasy. This is something that you can never go wrong with, according to me. If you want to know more about the how, why, when, and more, join me in this episode. This is Chamber Mage. Alright, so now we're welcoming Chamber Mage to the podcast. Welcome, guys.
Hey, what's up, man?
Why don't you guys start by introducing yourselves a little bit, and then we can go on to the band.
Yeah, I'm Devin. I play guitar for Chamber Mage.
I'm Avery, and I sing.
Awesome. Something that I like to ask before we get on to the questions about the actual band, I usually like to go a little bit more into you guys. How did it like start for you guys? What made you guys want to get into music? Does it come from like a parent, or was it pretty much by yourselves that you got into it?
My dad like played blues guitar growing up, and so I like got turned on to a bunch of old stuff that way. And then I heard Smoke on the Water one day, and that kind of changed everything for me. So pretty like tale as old as time type introduction.
I got signed into to do concert band in middle school on accident, so I ended up playing saxophone. Nice. Total freak thing. It wasn't intentional, and then I kind of just drew to it and started playing piano the next year and started doing guitar after I got into metal around 2005-06, and that was a rabbit hole I never got out of.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. I actually have another friend that is a death metal drummer, and he started with playing trumpet.
Oh, sick!
So it's kind of cool when you get those. You get into music, into like classical music, and then you go into that metal and stuff. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover too.
Yeah,
sonically and in terms of intricacies and compositionally and whatnot. So makes sense.
Yeah, and I love symphonic elements in metal. That is one of those things that I'm never getting tired of. But yeah, let's get into the actual band Chamber Mage a little bit. When was the band started and where?
So I basically just wanted to start like a traditional heavy metal band, and I reached out on some Facebook groups in my area of just like, local musicians and stuff, and found Devin that way and found the other guys sort of inadvertently through that. Our bass player Ted plays for Thor, and they were doing like a album release show at a bar up in Denver, and so he met our drummer Dan through that, and Jaden was a brother-in-law of a coworker of mine, so I met him through that, and we just all got together and started riffing.
Yeah, cool. Approximately when was the band started?
It was like
2021, like in the spring.
Yeah. All right. Cool. What was the origin behind the name Chamber Mage?
I just thought it sounded cool. I was just putting like random words together, and like the idea that people could think it was like a play on Chamber Made actually didn't occur to me until like way later, and I was like, oh shit, like some people might think that was intentional, but
yeah,
no.
That's kind of cool. I love the sound of the band, and what are some of like your main influences? I see some Iron Maiden flags or posters in the background and a Bathory shirt. So I can imagine there is quite a mix.
Yeah, no, I started kind of down the rabbit hole of death metal super early. So yeah, definitely trad metal was a later stage in life thing for me. Not until about 2020 was into, you know, Bodum and black metal and got into like the whole super technical death metal kind of rabbit hole. So it's a pretty big change as far as that goes for guitar writing. But yeah, once I got down into doing all the trad metal stuff, like obviously like Jack Panzer from Colorado as well was a big influence on me. Man of War, Seer Thungol, stuff in that kind of vein.
Love it.
For me, it was like I got really inspired by Cauldron from Canada. Was like because I was getting into like new traditional metal bands at the same time as I was like the older traditional metal bands. And I got a metal magazine. I don't remember what magazine it was, but it had like a new wave traditional heavy metal sampler CD. And in there I found like Cauldron and like Destroy, 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 and like this band called Crowning Glory. It was like Tom Draper from Pounder and forget his other band, but just all these like cool bands in there that are like playing the same kind of stuff as like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. And like so I held a lot of that stuff in the same regard as you know, the big boys. And so that really inspired me to want to do this kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, that actually kind of reminds me that when Avery and I first linked up, yeah, the Cauldron, like this was one of the things that we bonded over like instantly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, that was super old school find for me. I think I got that in like 2007 on like fucking MySpace. So but yeah, that was like as soon as I busted that CD out, it was like we're boys. So
yeah, because like nobody knows who that band is too. So that was like a super bonding moment for us in Colorado Springs.
That's awesome. I love when you just find that one thing that just binds it all together and just click straight away.
Totally. Yeah.
We usually don't play any of the band's music in our episodes because of like fair use and all of that sort of stuff. So one question that I usually ask, just to give our listeners a picture of what you guys sound like, is like, is there a like more famous, or however I'm gonna word it, band that you would like compare your sound to?
We get a couple different things because I think that everyone in the band having very diverse listening backgrounds and everybody writes, so we have an eclectic sound. So some people compare us to Manila Road. I'd say that if you like Visigoth, you'd probably like us as like a more contemporary comparison. But you know, we'll rip stuff from Maiden and just yeah.
Yeah, and for production for this album, one of the reference albums was some Eternal Champion stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, we started off because like we love the way those two Eternal Champion records sound. And we started off trying to sort of use those as a sonic template in terms of production. But then like as we started moving along in the production process, we realized that the production style of that second Nocturnal Rites album suited our music really well too. So we sort of tried to find like a middle point between those two.
Sounds great. But yeah, can you explain a little bit more about your like image? How do you like visualize Chamber Mage?
I don't think that we really have a very like standout image per se, other than just like five guys that love heavy metal music, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
we'll
doesn't
bust
need to
out
be
some
more
swords every
complicated.
once in a while on stage, but it's just a lot of headbanging on my end, basically. So
Well, you can't go without the headbanging, can you?
I hope not.
But yeah, but yeah, is there like a similar theme that you go for when in album art and that sort of stuff? Now you don't have that many releases so far, but is there like a theme that you go for?
Fantasy.
yep.
Yeah. Like I feel like our the imagery reflected in our music is a lot more akin to high fantasy artwork as opposed to like sword and sorcery. You know,
Mhm.
like more the old Wheel of Time album covers is or book covers and stuff, and
Mhm.
like those classic fantasy novel uh paintings is sort of what comes to my mind and invokes in me with our music more than, you know, like Conan or Deathstalker or that kind of thing. So
Yeah, love it. You were talking a little bit about that all of the members are writing, which I love, because then you really get the different influences from all of the members to create a very interesting sound. But yeah, how do you go about the writing in the sense of like lyrical themes, and how do you approach that?
um well, it really just depends. Like I mean, it depends on the song, like with To Spire's Deep and Caverns High, the song that Devin wrote. I just sort of listened to the song after he wrote it and just let it paint a picture in my mind, and that's how the lyrics came together. But then other songs, I had lyric ideas first just because I thought it would be cool, and then um, sort of wrote riffs around lyrics. So it just kind of
Yeah.
depends on the song and the idea flow.
And is there a particular theme of the lyrics that you like to write about?
I mean, yeah, I liked I like to come up with stories in my head and uh, you know, write songs about those, and then I'd like to at some point maybe translate those lyrics into actual stories of fiction.
Hmm.
I was talking to Justin Young over at the Monsters Magic and Madness podcast, and
Yeah.
uh, he did inspire me to want to actually uh, stop procrastinating and create some actual works of fiction from the lyrics. So
Yeah.
maybe in the near future.
Yeah, that's actually, to me, it is one of the more interesting questions that I ask the bands, because the answers are so different. They're so different in between the bands
Right.
that there is never really an exact same answer.
Mm,
Like I were talking to the guys from Throne of Iron 2 days ago,
yeah.
and they like pull everything from, or a lot of it from, campaigns in
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons and stuff.
Totally. Yeah. Tucker's an awesome guy. That's
Yeah,
one of my buddies.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
Tucker that I talked to.
Nice.
So yeah, that is something that I love.
Yeah. No. And that's cool too, because uh, you know, I don't play D&D, but if I did, that would certainly be a bottomless well of inspiration for.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't really play either. I don't really have time anymore, unfortunately.
Fair.
It is basically my day job and this podcast that fills up most of my time.
Right. Yeah. If only we had the hours in the day to supplement
Yeah,
all the things we want to do, right?
definitely. But yeah, what are the plans for the future? New music and like live shows and stuff like that.
We got a couple we got one show coming up in town in Denver with some friends of
Mhm.
ours. That should all be out and announced, finalized soon. And then yeah, we're looking at doing some stuff in September out of state. and then really beyond that, try to get on some more festivals in 2026. But yeah, Jade and I already have like 2 song ideas a piece that we're working on for album 2. So
awesome.
Trying to stay proactive and kind of elevate what we did for, stuff moving forward.
Yeah. Devin and I were talking recently about how we haven't put ourselves in a box at all with the first record, because like I was saying, everybody writes. So we've created a nice zone of sound that we can occupy, and it'll still sound like Chamber Mage. And so we really want to, on the next record, still hit all those marks that we hit, but bigger and more influences, and just like hone in everything that we did and continue to not like put ourselves in a sonic box. And but like they have they each got some song ideas going on, and then I got a bunch of lyrics and stuff panned out, and I kind of know how I want those songs to sound. So we're really excited because we've been sitting on this album for a while in terms of how long it's all been written, and we know that it just came out, but we're already like itching to start getting some new stuff worked on. So
sounds great. And I love that. Once again, like, I don't think that you should like have this sound too specific. Like, it might have worked for like AC/DC to write 12 albums that sounds pretty much the same.
Yeah.
You can almost literally play 2 albums side by side, and it's gonna work together. But yeah, I like the idea when bands dare to try things and test it out, see if it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But we did try.
Totally.
So that is something that I love, and it makes it so much more interesting.
No, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. The pressure's on, because like, I mean, it's easy to write your first album because you can do whatever you want, but your second one is the one that's going to get compared to your first one, for better or for worse. So
yeah,
can be more challenging.
But that is something also that I'm so blown away by today's standards. The quality of the debut album from the bands that we talk about or with nowadays. It is just crazy how the quality has gone just through the roof.
Yeah,
it's the bands sound. Some of the bands just sounds like they have been going on for years.
Yeah, I think a good example of that is the new Myth Carver EP. I don't know if you've listened to that, but
no.
Myth Carver from Texas, they played the pre-party at Hell's Heroes, but you listen to that EP and like it sounds so put together that like you would never guess that it was their first. I mean, they had 2 singles before, but it was like their first, like that they're a brand new band, you know what I mean?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check them out.
Good stuff.
But yeah, we're actually going towards the end right now. Is there anything else that you guys would like to talk about before we let the listeners go? You may like promote whatever you want, basically.
I mean, obviously, the album's out on Nameless Grave. They've been super awesome label to work with. So that's available on Bandcamp, and for anyone out in Europe looking to pick it up, High Roller and Cruz del Sur are stocking the album for us as well. So trying to have some good distro going on. So it's pretty much wherever you are in the world, you can get your hands on it. And we have our own Bandcamp store with merch and everything as well. And then just looking forward to pushing and doing new stuff and kind of expanding our sound and just improving and doing more shows and getting out there. So
listen to the new Serpent Rider album too.
Also, yes.
We're gonna have to check that out. But yeah, with that said, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Yeah,
it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you guys.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And let's say goodbye to all of the listeners. So have a good one.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
So, if it sounds like you might like this band, do not hesitate to go and check them out. If it is not what you usually listen to, go and give them a chance anyway. You might find something new that you will enjoy. I find new bands and kinds of music all the time when we do this podcast. Most importantly, if you do like this band, make sure that you support them in ways that works for you. Easiest way to support them is to follow them on their social medias. It is a very easy and is completely free way to support them. Of course, I would like to encourage you also to buy their music, since that is the absolute best way to support them. If you like what we are doing here on Metal Verbalizers podcast, bringing you new metal to enjoy, don't forget to follow us on our social medias as well. This way you will get updates on what bands we are going to verbalize next. Maybe you have a band in mind that you would like us to feature. Don't wait to tell us about them. We always take suggestions in consideration when we plan our episodes. Did I mention our YouTube channel? There we also have a video version of tour stories and all episodes in Season 4. You do not want to miss this. Thank you for listening. You've been listening to Metal Verbalizers podcast, Verbalizing Chamber Mage.